All the talk before the transfer window closed was about a centre-back, and with Joel Matip joining Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez on the sidelines, Liverpool duly signed not one but two defenders in Ben Davies and Ozan Kabak. It may not be until the end of the season that Van Dijk, Gomez and Matip are fully fit, but when they are, Liverpool will have more than enough options at the back. It's the same up front. For all the recent concerns about a lack of goals, it should not be forgotten the Reds are missing Diogo Jota. Jota's impact at Anfield was immediate, and going forward for the rest of this season and beyond, Liverpool now have a forward who will not only provide cover and competition for the fabled front three, but actually have a player who could push one of the trio out of the team. But what about the midfield? It's the one area of the pitch that Liverpool are seemingly overstocked in, particularly following the arrival of Thiago. However, given Fabinho, for the time being at least, is now considered more of a defender, and given that James Milner is coming towards the end of his career, and given that Naby Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Xherdan Shaqiri cannot, for differing reasons, be considered first-team regulars, midfield could well be an area that Jurgen Klopp and Michael Edwards will have to think about this summer, especially if Gini Wijnaldum leaves. The Dutchman is into the final 6 months of his contract, and unless he puts pen to paper on a new deal before the end of the season, he is likely to leave Anfield on a free transfer. It remains to be seen how Klopp and Edwards would replace such an important figure, and whether that can be achieved by using a member of the current squad, such as Curtis Jones. But if Liverpool's manager and sporting director have to go shopping, who might they target? Football scouting writer and Analysing Anfield podcast host Josh Williams has picked out 5 possible replacements for Wijnaldum. Number 1, Renato Sanches. Once touted as the next big thing, Sanchez has drifted somewhat from the spotlight since moving to Bayern Munich from Benfica for £30 million at the age of 18. However, since joining Lille for £18 million in the summer of 2019, the former Swansea loanee has evolved and gained experience to such an extent that it's reasonable to suggest he is ready for another test at a top European club, as he still has undeniable talent. Klopp has proved an expert at helping rough diamonds fulfil their potential, and Sanchez has plenty of applicable skills that can be compared to Wijnaldum in some areas. The Portuguese is versatile, tricky in tight spaces and hard to dispossess, and is also naturally more of an offensive player who is more capable than most on the dribble. The only notable downside is that Sanchez appears inclined to pick up injuries, with 11 separate issues since 2017, missing 51 matches in the process. Number 2, Ryan Gravenberch. Ajax's youngest ever player made his debut at the age of 16 years and 130 days in September 2018. Clearly an early developer, the now 18-year-old has matured far beyond his actual age, standing around 6 foot 3 inches and towering over most opponents. Gravenberch is technical despite his size. His athletic qualities are highly suited to Jurgen Klopp's intense brand of football, and he performed well against Liverpool in the Champions League earlier this season, so do not be surprised if he's touted for a move to Anfield in the future. The Dutch under-21 international seems to fit the jack-of-all-trades profile that Klopp favours in the middle of the park, and very few have potential ceiling that is so high. Number 3, Eduardo Camavinga. Another early developer, Camavinga is contracted to Rennes until 2022, meaning a sale would make sense in the near future unless his deal gets extended. Just 18 years of age, the France international has already been linked with Real Madrid as a consequence of his swift rise to prominence. Camavinga stands over 6 foot tall and he's mobile across the ground, with a tendency to carry the ball up the field in quite a dynamic manner. The left footer is also more than willing to get involved without possession and tends to demonstrate great anticipation as he breaks up opposition attacks. Much like Gravenberch, Camavinga has a higher ceiling than most, considering his current level is more advanced than many midfield players reach at their peak, and he appears modern and adaptable enough to tick the necessary boxes as a Liverpool player. Number 4, Yves Bissouma. Perhaps the most attainable and suitable player is Brighton's Bissouma, who has continued to improve since arriving in the Premier League from Lille in 2018. The 24-year-old is demonstrating frequently that he's reached a level whereby he could step up and form part of a stronger team. Like Wijnaldum, Bissouma is very difficult to control and dispossess in the middle of the park because of his ability to shield the ball using his body, his dribbling and his tendency to find solutions when in difficult situations. The Mali international has a contract until 2023, but once the summer arrives, he will enter the final 24 months of a deal and a sale could be on the cards, especially if Brighton are relegated. Number 5, Sander Berge. A wildcard option could be Berge, who is highly likely to suffer relegation this season season given Sheffield United's position in the Premier League table, and therefore he could be sold at a reduced price. The Norway international is mature with the ball at his feet, and he's arguably the most physically imposing of the options listed, standing 6 foot 4 inches. Klopp has talked about the 22-year-old in the past, labelling him a very interesting player after facing him in the Champions League when he was at Genk. Liverpool will probably aim higher, but Wijnaldum arrived after Newcastle United suffered relegation, and Berge could offer similar value.